This investigation should be a guide for the military and the Ivorian opposition. Israeli mercenaries in Abidjan to listen to and track the supporters of Laurent Gbagbo and Guillaume Soro. This information that I am giving you is not new. I had already revealed that Alassane Ouattara paid billions to an Israeli company to carry out systematic wiretapping of Ivorian opponents. In addition, I even sent my owls, who managed to take a photo of them at the Hotel du Golf. My loyal subscribers can attest to this. What's new here is that intelligence technology is evolving at a rapid pace. These men have acquired and are now equipped with the most advanced listening technologies in the world. Their mission has not changed, quite the contrary. They are responsible, in complete discretion, for monitoring, intercepting and listening to the communications of two groups of people: 1. The defense and security forces, without exception. 2. Political opponents, notably former President Laurent Gbagbo and former Prime Minister Guillaume Soro. As the October presidential election approaches, in which he fully intends to run, Alassane Ouattara has reinforced the contingent of Israeli spies already present, with new agents of the same nationality. These men ensure its passive and active security, jamming mobile phone signals within a 2-kilometer radius when the presidential procession moves, installation of human presence detection systems in the water and underground within the perimeter of the residence presidential, explosive detection system in the environment of the head of state, close security of the children of the presidential couple, tactical recognition of all the places where the head of state or his wife must go for their personal shopping or their discreet meetings, etc. But with the presidential election looming, their wiretapping and telephone interception activity has increased tenfold. Hence this need for reinforcements, which arrived a few weeks ago. These former spies all returned to Côte d'Ivoire with ordinary passports, which present them as computer technicians, businessmen, investors in the agricultural sector, etc. But most of them served in special forces or secret units of the Israeli army. After retiring from the army, they moved into private security. And as Dominique Ouattara comes from a Jewish family, they feel morally obliged to protect their sister, who it is said was also, in the past, a Mossad agent with Felix Houphouët-Boigny. All opposition leaders, without exception, were wiretapped. Some naive people among them think they are safe because they only chat via the encrypted messaging apps WhatsApp or Telegram. But Israeli operators have already been entering their phones for a long time and recording each of their conversations, with their activists, their executives, their wives, their mistresses, etc. Everything is transcribed on paper and transmitted every evening to Alassane Ouattara. Obviously, these Israeli mercenaries operate completely illegally in Côte d'Ivoire, because espionage or counter-espionage activity is the exclusive responsibility of a sovereign state and its nationals. When you practice espionage on behalf of a foreign state, you are either a double agent or a mercenary. The local branches of the American CIA and the French DGSE carefully monitor the activity of these Israeli spies on Ivorian soil. Based on their interceptions and telephone tapping, not a week goes by without Ivorians being kidnapped or arrested by Tani Birahima Ouattara's men. They are tortured and, sometimes, executed anonymously. This is why the Ivorians must identify these mercenaries precisely. The Ivorian military, who are among the most listened to targets, must also identify them carefully. A day will come when we can hold them to account. For now, and as far as I am concerned, I have instructed my owls to keep an eye on them and their activities. Here is authentic and irrefutable information about them. These mercenaries, experts in intelligence and electronic espionage, are veterans of Israeli agencies specializing in this field. Their headquarters is on the 20th floor of the Sofitel Hotel Ivoire. This floor has been entirely requisitioned for their operations. The entire landing has been transformed into a surveillance center, where the rooms serve as listening posts and are full of ultra-sophisticated equipment capable of intercepting conversations over several kilometers. They are housed in a luxury building called Laguna Residences, built on the ashes of the villa that Alassane and Dominique Ouattara owned in Blocos and which had been ransacked several years ago. This modern and ultra-luxurious building, a symbol of personal revenge and triumph for the Ouattaras, is now the refuge of these foreign agents deployed on Ivorian soil to carry out clandestine operations. Ivorians must know that it is foreigners who gather the information leading to the kidnapping, torture and often execution of their brothers in arms, friends and acquaintances. Let them start to identify them, because in 2025, the confrontation with Alassane Ouattara will take place. It is on these foreign forces and other mercenaries that he is counting on to massacre the Ivorians and confiscate state power. This is why the opposition must have no illusions about the intentions of the despot. Now, I ask my subscribers to pass this information on to Laurent Gbagbo, because Alassane Ouattara tells anyone who will listen that everything Gbagbo says, he is informed at the second. I believe that it is thanks to these mercenaries that this despot is so serene. How these Israeli mercenaries interception of communications. The techniques used by these mercenaries are worthy of the most elaborate spy films. This is how they operate. 1. Advanced interception equipment. They use state-of-the-art electronic surveillance systems, capable of intercepting any type of communication, whether analog or digital. These equipment include IMSI catchers or fake GSM relays. These devices imitate the antennas of telephone operators and force users' phones to connect to them. This allows them to listen to calls, access text messages and even locate phones in real time. Decryption systems, even encrypted communications, such as those from WhatsApp, Telegram or Signal, can be intercepted if vulnerabilities are exploited or user devices are compromised. Directional microphones, they allow you to listen through walls or at a distance, by capturing sound vibrations. 2. Installation of equipment on strategic infrastructures. These agents install their equipment on the towers of cellular companies and in areas close to the residences of opponents. Thanks to this, they capture all communications within a radius of several kilometers. For example, near Laurent Gbagbo's residence, they can listen to everything that is said, even inside the house. 3. Triangulation and network analysis. They analyze calls and messages to identify frequent contacts. Using artificial intelligence software, they establish circles of trust and thus identify allies, messengers and collaborators of opponents. 4. Direct intrusion into devices. Israeli mercenaries can infect phones with spyware like Pegasus. This software allows you to listen to calls, read messages and even activate the microphone and camera remotely, without the user realizing it. 5. Installing microphones. Several garbage collection service agents who work at night place microphones in the homes of certain opponents, which provide access to all conversations and telephone exchanges in the targeted home. Tips to escape these taps. Faced with this sophisticated threat, it is crucial to adopt proven methods to protect communications and travel. Here are some practical tips. 1. Minimize sensitive communications. Never discuss strategic plans or sensitive topics over the phone. Limit yourself to trivialities. Prefer face-to-face meetings to discuss critical issues. 2. Redeem codes. For any necessary conversations, use code words to refer to places, people or actions. For example, instead of mentioning a name, use a symbolic letter or word. 3. Protect your phones. Avoid using modern phones for sensitive conversations. Basic phones, without an internet connection, are less vulnerable to spyware. Change your phone and SIM card regularly to avoid being tracked. 4. Limit the use of popular applications. WhatsApp, Telegram and Signal are not foolproof. Secret services can exploit vulnerabilities or infect your devices. Prefer apps. 5. Avoid precise locations. Always turn off your phone's GPS and avoid using apps that constantly collect your location. Use SIM-free phones when traveling, and drop off your personal phones remotely during important meetings. 6. Diversify means of communication. Mix multiple channels to make surveillance more difficult, written notes, trusted messengers, or meetings in random, discrete locations. 7. Use signal blockers. Some devices make it possible to jam the frequencies used for eavesdropping. They can protect your communications in specific areas. Then, they do triangulations to see which numbers you are calling and, thus, they establish the different circles of friendship. What I'm describing is very serious. So how can we escape the eavesdropping of these Israelis? The good old recipes that Mr. Beta taught me: never communicate anything other than trivial things on the phone. Never mention names or places on the phone. Always use codes. Serious things should be discussed face to face. Here are some tips for confusing Israeli mercenaries. I hope that my investigation has been useful to you and can save lives. While Ivorians fight for their daily survival in the face of inflation and poverty, those in power devote resources to a war of illegal eavesdropping. Chris Yapi does not lie. Find Chris Yapi on his 2 YouTube channels, his Rumble channel, his TikTok, X, Instagram, VK and Threads accounts.